Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. We're out here in Founders Forge once again, been working a little bit more on the housing district over here on this side of town. Still a little bit of work in progress, we still got this house coming together, but I managed to put together one more house here with a very steep angled roof and a bell tower up here, which I'm pretty happy with actually. I think it came together nicely. We've got a gold block up in there because none of my villagers over in the trading hall are actually trading bells. I think that all of the armorers and blacksmiths, all of the legacy villagers there are some of the older ones, the ones that aren't trading any of the bells. You'd have to get a brand new 1.14 villager to do that, and I think all of their trades are already unlocked from the previous version. So I figured a gold block would do up in there. Let's get another look at that from the side just so you can see it. It looks pretty good in the meantime. It's a birch fence and just a spruce button on the bottom there. And we're going to be seeing quite a few more spruce buttons in today's episode because today I want to do a little bit of automatic potion brewing. Not necessarily fully automated. We're not going to have these things churning out potions in the background, but what I want to make is kind of an ordering interface for potions so we can just press a few buttons and order up a batch of potions that we can use anytime we want to. And down here I feel like is probably going to be a good place to do that because we set up this massive Nether Wart farm a while ago when we were working on getting materials for the castle roof, which is made primarily out of red nether brick and regular nether brick, so I figured we would probably need quite a lot of nether wart. So I'm going to kind of dig out the rest of this room because I never really used this part of the room for anything, and it looks like there is probably a decent sized space here in which we could make a massive automatic potion brewer or kind of potion ordering interface like I was saying. My goal for this is really to make it as lo-fi as possible, both so it's easy for you guys to understand if you're not that familiar with redstone stuff and because it's easier for me to understand as well. Being not the most tech savvy person when it comes to redstone, I just tinkered around in creative for a few minutes and I came up with something that I think works pretty well. So we're going to give that a go. I'm going to dig out this section here and I'll be back once I've done that. That's better. So what we have here is a slightly more workable environment for an automatic potion brewing setup, and the basics of potion brewing have been covered elsewhere in this series, but I'll go over it one more time here for those of you who might have been skipping ahead to this episode. Let's put a chest here for our output. We want a hopper going into that, and a brewing stand can be placed on top of that. Now, a brewing stand can hold 3 bottles, but they are automatically pulled out of the brewing stand by this hopper, so we will need something to lock this hopper in just a second. But the other places hoppers can input stuff to brewing stands are kind of specific. We want one on the back and side like so, and those are going to be feeding in the bottles full of water and blaze powder, because blaze powder is required as an element for brewing stands after Minecraft 1.9. So the hopper on the bottom is going to be pulling the bottles of finished potions out. The hoppers on the sides are going to be delivering fresh water bottles and blaze powder in case it runs out, and the one on the top, like so, is going to be delivering the ingredients. And the ingredients are going to be coming from a water stream over here, and we're going to have a set of droppers pushing items into the water stream whenever we want a fresh ingredient to be added to the potion. And the cool thing about hoppers is that they will always extract items from the hopper in the order that they appear in the hopper. So say, for example, I put in let's go with a nether wart, and then we added a blaze powder to that, and then we added some redstone dust to that to elongate the length of the strength potion that we're clearly brewing up here, then it would add the items in that order, unlike, say, pressing a button on a dropper or a dispenser full of items where the output item is chosen randomly from those 9 slots. Hoppers will always drain their items in order, and that is what allows us to set up a sequence of items that can be brewed into a single potion. And this is where having a witch farm is going to come in handy, because not only does the witch farm provide a great deal of ingredients that we're going to be using in this potion brewing machine, it also provides a near endless supply of glass bottles, which is great because I'm trying to save as much glass as I can for projects like the Nether Hub right now, and I kind of need to keep that around. So being able to have an infinitely farmable supply of pre-made glass bottles is super handy, and you might even want to establish your automatic potion brewer somewhere near your witch farm if that's the case. But now we've got all of those glass bottles, we can just set up an infinite water source nearby. I'm going to put one here inside of a little spruce barrel of sorts, not actually a barrel, but a kind of mock barrel that we're going to make out of spruce trapdoors. And now having that, all I need to do is fill up the glass bottles anytime I've got them handy. And it's likely that we're going to need to refill the glass bottles more often than we need to refill the blaze powder, because all you need to do is really put a stack of blaze powder in this hopper, or, you know, more of it even in the chest above it, and that would last a lot longer than a bunch of glass bottles would. Bottles of water also do not stack, so we are going to need to fill this up and potentially even put another chest of water bottles on top of that if you want to continue having that feed through without you having to resupply all of this stuff over a long period of time. As it is, I'm going to clear out as much of my inventory as I can and just fill up as many of these glass bottles as I've got room for the moment. And then once we start chucking them on the ground, we know that we've used up enough of them. And right now, as you'll see, they're not staying in the brewing stand for very long. They are just going straight through into this chest, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is grab ourselves a redstone torch and use it to turn off this hopper for a moment. Now, with that hopper currently powered, that's going to switch it off, meaning that it will no longer try and extract any items from the brewing stand. And once we put our bottles of water in here, you'll notice the chest and hopper start to fill up a little bit, but then the brewing stand stays with the 3 bottles of water in here. Now, obviously, we're going to want to be able to remove those at some point, so we need some way of depowering this redstone torch, allowing the bottles from the brewing stand to flow into this chest. But that is unfortunately also going to create a bit of a problem, because this hopper here is going to want to continue feeding water bottles into the brewing stand, and this hopper is going to drag those water bottles out and into the chest. What we want to do is set up a very simple redstone circuit that's going to disable this hopper while enabling this hopper, and we're going to do that with a very simple setup. We're just going to grab a couple of building blocks, a lever, and 2 redstone dust. And the way this is going to work is we're going to place a block there, and we're going to place the 2 redstone dust here, like so, and we're going to put the lever on top of this block. Now, when it powers this block by switching the lever on, it's going to disable this hopper, meaning that no water bottles will flow out of it. But then switching on this redstone dust is going to power the block that this redstone torch is attached to, and that's going to enable this hopper again, allowing items to flow out of the brewing stand. So I'll give you a quick example. Take the water bottle out of there and drain the brewing stand. As you can see, we've only got 3 bottles here in the chest, nothing else coming through from that hopper there, nothing sitting around idling in this hopper here. And then once we enable that again, it switches on this redstone torch, making sure that nothing else flows out through the hopper. We've still got 3 water bottles in there, and the brewing stand gets filled up again. Now, potentially we want to hide this redstone dust, because sometimes it's nice just to have the redstone components concealed here. So all we're going to do is make that a double chest and have an additional block there. We can kind of build this up around the outside. We can even make a couple of additions to this with the glass that I brought over, so that it feels like the brewing stand is sort of behind a glass screen here. Putting glass over the top will mean that we can still open this output chest, and we can still reach the input chest on the side where we're going to be stashing the water bottles when we've got them loaded into the system, but all of this is still going to function perfectly normally as is. Meanwhile, back at the farmhouse, I'm going to grab a handful of blaze rods, and we're going to take these, which I've been using as occasional furnace fuel in here, and I'm going to take those over here to the automatic brewing stand, and we're going to use the first stack of these to fill up the blaze powder chest on the back here. In fact, we may as well just fill that hopper. I don't really feel the need to add a chest in there. 1 stack of blaze rods is going to split out into 2 stacks of blaze powder. A stack of that is going to go straight into the system, and then that's going to last for, I believe, 10 brewing operations per blaze powder. So that's going to mean, you know, 640 potions in total can pass through the system before it needs to move on to the next stack of blaze powder. It's nice and straightforward. In fact, I'm fairly certain you can even just put a stack of blaze powder at the beginning of one of these chests and have that occasionally refill from a hopper above if you want to, and that will enable this whole thing to run pretty smoothly without the addition of an extra hopper here. Although if you want to do that, you will need to make sure a stack of blaze powder is the first item here in this hopper, because otherwise the hopper will just fill up with water bottles, and when the system wants to renew the blaze powder, it won't be able to. So you'll need a stack of blaze powder in here, a stack of blaze powder at the start of this hopper, and then it will just pull more blaze powder out of the chest whenever it needs it. Of course, blaze powder is also a potion ingredient as part of potions of strength, so we're going to take that blaze powder out of there and and break down a little bit more so that we can add it to a selection of droppers that are going to be over here, adding items to this top hopper, the input hopper, that's going to be brewing all of the potions for us. And that's the system we're going to set up now. So scaffolding up to the ceiling here, our water stream is going to be ending on this hopper, so we need to place a few glass blocks around there just to make sure that the water stream is going to end up going where it needs to go, like so. We'll take down the scaffolding now, we shouldn't need too much more of that. And around the outside of here, on the front row, we're going to be placing droppers facing inwards towards our bubble columns. We're probably going to need to block off a few sections of this as well, so let's block that off there. And what we want is a column of 4 droppers, 1, 2, 3, 4, going up to the height where the water stream is going to be, because of course that top dropper can just deposit items directly in the water stream. These bottom ones here though are going to be spitting them out into the soul sand that we're going to have running along here. So each of these droppers is going to be ejecting an item into a soul sand bubble column that we're going to be placing along this trench here. And the problem right now is that if, say, we power one of these droppers with a button, it's going to power the droppers to either side of it because that block is going to be conducting redstone power. Alternatively, if we place buttons on these here, they will only activate the droppers next to them, but that means we can't alternate droppers and stone like so, because pressing a button here would activate the items on both sides. So what we're going to do is 1 column of droppers, 2 columns of stone like so, and then 2 columns of droppers, because then what we can do is have buttons on either side of these droppers only activating 1 row of items, and right here can be the interface that has all of our, potion items ejected into it, and then this one here can be the after effects, the stuff like redstone and gunpowder that's going to change the duration or the intensity or make it into a splash potion, possibly even have a fermented spider eye coming out of that top dropper there just to reverse the effects of whatever potion is in there. So on the sides here we can add the buttons to the interface like so. We can have those going up the wall there and on that side, and then each of those will only activate the dropper that it's immediately next to, which is kind of crucial for this whole design to work out. And on each of these droppers we could place an item frame designating exactly what item it is in that dropper, which makes it easier to refill and also a lot easier when you're ordering the potions in question. We're also going to have to find a space to put nether wart, but I think since basically all potions aside from maybe one require nether wart, we might just have the nether wart dropper over the top of the hopper here. That way it's always going to have nether wart in there as the first ingredient when we start brewing a new potion. There we go, we've got a dropper facing into the top hopper there, we've got a button underneath it to activate it, and that is going to temporarily actually power this hopper here, but that's not going to be a huge issue because as soon as it's ready to receive the nether wart, it will, and that's going to start the brewing stand brewing. As you can see, nether wart in there already. Now back here, we're going to build up our little tank that's going to contain the water streams and the bubble columns that are going to be transporting the items from these droppers into the system here, and I might need a little bit more headroom actually. But what we want to do first is create a 1-block floor here so that we can set up one water stream that's going to go over the top of all of this, and hopefully we should have enough room for that water stream to flow right up to the hopper. Yep, fantastic. Okay, so we've got 12 potential droppers that we can use here, plus the 13th one over here for the nether wart, and all of them will output into this water stream. Now I can just take away this floor like so, and the water stream on top here should remain on top, even though the water below it is now flowing down into this space. And in this area we can start putting down some soul sand, which isn't going to create bubble columns yet because the water is currently flowing downwards, but once I've placed all of this ice over the top of it and broken that to reform water sources, we should have a bubble column that's going to transport any items that end up in front of these droppers up into the water stream that's going to carry everything into the hopper. There we go, water streams activated. I was able to get out the side without the water flowing in this direction as well, and you know what, we should probably put a roof on top of this thing, otherwise the items are going to be popping out of the top and we we might not be able to get them all into the system because they might just be flying out all over the place. And there we go, we've got it all sorted. Now let's use blaze powder as an example. Let's put some blaze powder in this one here, and then let's press the button on the side to activate it. That should shoot a blaze powder up into the water stream to be carried along into the brewing stand, and yep, that is brewing us up 3 potions of strength from the awkward potions that we've already got in there. Fantastic. Let's now say that we wanted to elongate the effect, which is probably the most common thing we're going to want to do, so let's put the redstone one at eye height here. We'll add some redstone into this dropper, activate that. That's going to send some redstone into the system, and that should now be brewing up a 8-minute potion of strength. Now we've just heard the bubble sound, which means that is done brewing. All I should need to do now is activate that lever, flush the potions out into this chest. 8-minute potions of strength are there, and once we've collected those, we can pull the lever again, which is going to send 3 new bottles of water into the brewing stand. And so the only thing that's really left to do is to fill up this interface with our potion ingredients of choice and get to brewing. And after a little bit of time, I have put together all of the ingredients that I wanted to include in this machine, and I've also color-coded the interface, both to make it a little bit more fun and because it could be useful to color-code these things in future. If you don't want to have all of these extra item frames here as labels, you could do stuff like that as well. But the color-coding system is kind of like all over the place right now because, let's see, we've got, sugar is white, so we've got the white wool there, but white doesn't really have all that much to do with swiftness. Likewise, the blue here is sort of the color of the jump boost icon, but really doesn't have anything to do with jump boost. Magma Cream for fire resistance is fairly obvious. Lava is the main thing we're going to be worried about there, and both lava and fire are that kind of like orangey color. You know, there are a few connections we can draw here. Even the color of the potion might inform this a little bit, but it is often quite difficult to tell what color potions actually are because they all have that kind of glimmer to them because of the enchantment texture. But I figure, you know, red next to redstone, yellow next to glowstone, that kind of stuff, that all matched up. And then, of course, the corrupting agent here, the fermented spider eye, could do with something black next to it. So what we've got in here so far is all of the water bottles. They're good. Okay, cool. So we can do this a quick run through. We can put this machine through its paces. Let's order up, let's say, a potion of fire resistance. We'll have that for 8 minutes, so we can add the redstone in there as well. And that should have added all of the ingredients to this brewing stand in order. So now, when we add them all and we wait for the potion to brew up, we should get ourselves 3 potions of fire resistance for 8 minutes. So let's hang around for a little while and see if that brews it up. Sounds like our potions are done brewing. Let's pull the lever and find out if we got the potions we wanted. 8 minutes of fire resistance. Perfect. And now we can reload the brewing stand in there, and that will all go back to how it was before. Perfect. I like this little ordering interface. It's relatively straightforward, and it's nice and simple for you guys who are starting out with automated potion brewing. Of course, there are much more advanced potion brewing stations out there, and some that will just keep churning out potions in the background while you're out there doing other things. I recommend checking out Impulse SV's latest video in which he makes an automatic potion brewer design. There are a whole bunch of designs out there to choose from, so you can basically pick your favorite. But I hope this has given you a nice introduction into potion brewing, and we could make some more complicated setups a little bit further down the line. But for today, that is going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.